Hello and welcome to Dive In With Me, a podcast produced and researched by the Fondation Aimé. This podcast aims to shine a light on different subjects related to the benefits of music. For this episode, we are very happy to welcome Kyriaki Pafiou. Kyriaki was born in Cyprus and studied civil engineering and music. She is currently studying music psychology in education, performance and well-being at the University of Sheffield. Her field of interest is special music education because she wants to support the participation of children with disabilities in music education. In this episode, we discuss her recent research about the impact of music in the lives of individuals who have Down syndrome. We discuss how she came to the idea of this research, her methodology, and some of the results that came out of it. We go through some technical problems during the recording, so please bear with us. Without further ado, may I present you Kyriaki Pafiou. Hi Kyriaki, how are you today?
Hi, Sarah. I'm fine. Thanks. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to do this with us today. So as everyone, you need to answer the first question. So what's your favorite music?
Okay. I like all kinds of music. I listen to everything, but okay, my favorite music is classical music. And I love I love the composers of the Romantic period. Yes.
Oh, me too. So do you have a favorite composer, a favorite piece in between that period?
No, I don't really have a favorite piece. I just, at the time, I listen more to Brahms' works, let's say. I also like listening to traditional folk songs.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're very theatrical and funny. So yeah, that's also one of my favorites.
Matt, you're here today with us to talk a bit about the research that you are currently doing. So maybe could you explain a bit what you're researching and how it came to it as well?
Well, yes. Firstly, I'd like to say I'm very happy for being able to work on this project. It all started by my relatives and friends who have some intellectual disability, and I was always pleasantly surprised to see how happy they were when we were listening to music or singing or going to a concert. And then, as a music student, I noticed that there weren't any people with intellectual disability in my classes. Later on, as a music teacher myself and as a member in different samples, again, I saw that there weren't so many people with disabilities participating in these activities. So that's how I started thinking that I would like to do something about that. And okay, I was always so happy during and after my musical activities, and I thought that this is something that everyone should be able to experience. And then I had to choose a group of people in order for the study to be designed, and I chose to work with people who have Down syndrome.
So syndrome is a condition in which like a person has an extra chromosome.
Yeah.
And so that there are different types of Down syndrome, if I understand correctly.
Yes, there are 3 types of Down syndrome, but the main thing is that there is variation
Mhm.
within this population of people, like any other population of people. So we shouldn't generalize their condition or the effects that the syndrome has on each one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we should never generalize about people.
Of course, like for everyone, yes. So the common thing, let's say that
Mhm.
individuals who have Down syndrome are facing, one of the common things, at least to different degrees, it's the learning difficulties.
Mhm.
And yes, and with this study, I tried to see how music can have an impact and improve their learning ability.
And so what makes makes the learning ability different of individual, maybe who have Down syndrome or learning deficiency?
That's very interesting, actually, because there are congenital and environmental factors that influence the learning ability. The congenital factors are, of course, the health and the cognitive effects of the syndrome. That's very clear. But on top of that, there are some environmental and psychological reasons that affect their learning ability. And I think this is the place where we can help to have some improvement. For example, it has been suggested that their learning history involves very high failure rates. It takes them very long periods of time for skill acquisition and for consolidating learning. Some studies have suggested that some individuals who have Down syndrome are aware of the stereotypes associated to the syndrome and their intelligence.
Okay.
So that's also something that affects them. And even more, sometimes they're aware of the low expectations that other people might have from them. Siblings, family members, peers, teachers, again, due to the stereotypes around this chromosomal condition. So all these things create another barrier for their development and add to their existing difficulties in learning. Yeah.
It's really sad if you think about it, that there's a
Yes.
stereotype about you and that you are well aware of it, and that maybe that could stop you from developing like skills or being something. No?
It affects the self-beliefs. Yes. And
Yes.
the from what I have been reading, the fact that this chromosomal condition has these facial characteristics. People who have Down syndrome have some specific characteristics. So it's very obvious that they have Down syndrome, and that makes it even more,
Yeah,
I
you
think
cannot hide it.
yes, they
Yeah.
cannot hide it, and they are. I think, and from my very limited experience, I think that they are aware of their condition. Yes, I think they are aware that they have some difficulties,
Okay.
and that things are not so easy for them to accomplish sometimes.
But are there really difficulties, or is it more like society imposing those difficulties because we are not open enough?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah, because okay, so in your research, you are trying to find out if musical experiences can help the learning attitudes, or facilitate learning. So how do you try to find the results to this?
Yeah. So an online survey was conducted, and parents had to complete a questionnaire with questions around their children's musical environment. And they also had to state their own beliefs on the impact of music on their children's learning ability. In the questionnaire, there were also two standardized tests measuring the levels of mastery motivation and self-regulation. So in this way, I tried to see whether more frequent musical activities or more frequent music lessons would be associated to higher levels of mastery motivation or self-regulation. Yeah.
If you say promoting self-regulation, what could you explain a bit further what you mean
Yes.
by that?
Sure. Yes. Mastery motivation and self-regulation are two very fundamental aspects of learning. We can see mastery motivation as the intrinsic drive to try to accomplish a goal or to master a skill, while self-regulation is the ability to set a goal and to manage one's behavior and emotions towards the accomplishment of that goal. They're interconnected concurrently, and yes, you need mastery motivation to be able to set the goal, let's say, and then through self-regulated behavior to move towards the targeted goal. Yeah.
So in music, this would translate to trying to learn an instrument or trying to play something. And that would be the goal that you set yourself. And then you still, and then the motivation to really enjoy playing it and rehearsing it and coming to the end of like, I can now play this.
Yeah, it's the feeling of success through a musical activity or through learning how to play an instrument. This is a successful learning experience that helps people to see their intelligence as something that is a result of hard work and not as something that is fixed. And by having this mindset and growth mindset, will bring more better learning outcomes. The way we see ourselves and our intelligence and our skills, let's say, it affects the way we approach new learning challenges and the amount of effort maybe that we might put into a new task.
So what you're saying is like the image that people with learning difficulties have maybe of themselves could create a barrier to them playing music or even trying to play music or to learn an instrument.
I mean, these deficiencies in motivation, self-regulation seem to be a barrier for all learning, for all subjects. But what I try to see here is whether their involvement with music and the successful experiences with music, because music is a place that everyone can be successful. So I'm trying to see if this experience would make them stronger and, in simple words, boost their self-confidence and their motivation levels in order to see other learning challenges in a more, positive way and more persistent way.
And also to give them self-confidence to learn new things, because they, as you said, they have then the confidence that they did something really great in music, and maybe that can boost them to do other things as well. Yes, so this is what we as the Amy Foundation believe in as well, that everybody can play and understand music, and that it can break down so many barriers, different kind of barriers, of course, but that if you come together and you do music in whatever kind of way that you want to do it, at the end of the workshop or the concert or whatever, you come up with such a feeling of success and of self-confidence because you did something great. And if you do it together, even it's still better.
It's happy moments and moments where you enjoy. And even if that was all of it, I mean, there was nothing more again. I think everyone should be able to have these experiences as often as they want.
Yes. Well, even, happy moments are already a good goal to set.
Yes. That also makes you stronger as a person. Yeah.
Yeah. And it can create new relationships, new friends, we've seen it so often that people at the end of a project or a workshop just tell us, I was so happy during this. So your research, where are you and have there been findings?
First, I'd like to explain that I investigated musical involvement and musical training separately.
Okay.
So I saw musical involvement as singing, being sung to, dancing to music, listening to music, attending concerts or participating in concerts and stuff like that. And musical training, on the other hand, was seen as participating in private or group instrumental or singing lessons.
Okay.
So we saw that musical involvement was associated with some improvements in mastery motivation aspects. Private instrumental or singing lessons were associated to improvements in mastery motivation aspects and self-regulation aspects. That was very nice. And group lessons, though, were associated only to improvements in mastery motivation aspects. So there was this difference between private and group instrumental or singing music lessons. A possible explanation could be that individuals who have Down syndrome are sometimes more attentive towards social aspects and not to the cognitive task. So that's something that maybe could be, I don't know, given some consideration for further studies, maybe. Also, we had some open questions in the questionnaire where, as I told you before, parents could state their beliefs on the impact of music on their children. That was very interesting because they were almost unanimous on their answers. So
Can you share what they said?
Yes, I'm happy to do that. Yesterday, I identified 6 aspects where musical involvement and musical training impact their children's learning ability. First one was the psychological aspect, where they mentioned improvements in self-confidence, in motivation, and in achievement. Then we had the emotional aspect, where they mentioned mood regulation. It makes them have better mood and feel better, and positive emotions generally. Then they emphasize the social aspect, saying that musical activities allow for participation, for social interactions, equal opportunities, collaboration. That was really strong point in the data set. Then we had the cognitive aspects, where they mention improvements in speech and language, in memory, concentration, information processing. And they gave a lot of examples. That was also very nice. Physical aspect, where they see improvements in their children's motor skills, hearing, and eyes control. And lastly, they almost everyone mentioned the artistic aspect of music, and they were saying how music allows their children to express themselves, and very often in a non-verbal way.
Yeah, which is true because you can express so much with music, so it makes sense that, yeah, that was one of the positive aspects. And also memory, for me, it makes total sense because if you rehearse something over and over again, it can have positive reactions on your memory. And it's also something that's very well researched within people who have dementia, that music can positively impact the memory aspect of the brain.
Yes, of course.
What was there something that you were most surprised with these findings, or did you know about that these would be the results of it?
I was just hoping, and okay, I have to say it was very difficult to get responses.
Okay.
And I was not expecting that. I contacted the Cyprus Down Syndrome Association. They were happy to help and everything, but I had very low response rate. The Association of UK has been very, very helpful. They even created a web page about this project, and they published it to their members. And I think the best thing for me was when people would just send an email to share their musical experiences and to say how happy and how proud they were with what they have been doing with music. So that made me feel really nice. Yeah.
Do you think that maybe from this study we could also take away something for all human beings, that music could be a facilitator for learning for everyone?
I think, a key element for learning is one's self-beliefs about intelligence, for example. So I think that music can provide successful experiences that can enable everyone to see intelligence as something that can be improved and not as something fixed.
Yeah, we should open up music more to everyone and try to have as many people having access to music as possible, because as we just talked about, it can have so many positive aspects, and it can empower people so much. That it's sad that we still live in a society where there are so many barriers to it. Do you want to go deeper in maybe the participation aspect of children with disabilities in music education?
I mean, yes, of course. The way I see it is that we need more music teachers who are trained on how to teach individuals who have any kind of intellectual disability. It's important for them also to be informed and able to teach each one depending on their abilities and their needs. And they should be able to provide an appropriate learning environment for every student. For me, I think this is the way to go in order to have more inclusion in music education, at least.
Music teachers also need the training to do and to know maybe what different kinds of methods they could use also,
Yes.
because there are different kinds of methods, and it's still like at the moment music's often taught in this very traditional manner, but I know that many more young musicians are really open to new methods and to new methods to teach music, and this not only goes for children with learning difficulties or children with Down syndrome, but for all the children, because not everyone thinks the same as we think in the traditional manner that kids do. And so I'm really hopeful that there are enough voices now in all the countries, so that we can together like change the education part a bit and open it up a bit more to everyone.
Yeah, there have been studies where music teachers try to modify instruments to make them more more easy to use for a student who had some difficulties. I mean, this is also a solution, but it's very delicate. This is why I'm saying that music teachers need to be well informed about all the aspects that might come with intellectual disability, because sometimes it can even backfire. If you try to present an instrument that does not really resemble the instrument that the student already knows, or the instrument that he's hoping to play. So I think it takes a lot of training and effort to find the right way and to help each one.
Yeah, because then it goes back to the stigma that you talked to in the beginning of like, if you already know that people see you as different and as not able to do something, and then you go into a music course and someone gives you, you get something else than what you try to get, then of course it's really frustrating as well.
Yes, something less, if they get something less.
Maybe if it's presented in the right way or more openly discussed, that you could play instruments in different kinds of ways.
But as long as the teacher is aware of what the student might be thinking and what his learning history is and how the student sees himself, and yes, all these things that unfortunately have an impact on students. These other aspects, yeah.
Maybe you can like recommend something, a book or a movie or music that listeners can enjoy and get into to learn further within the subject, or something really different that you want to recommend?
Okay, I would recommend Oliver Sacks' books, Musicophilia and The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. I think they're very relevant to our talk.
Okay.
Oliver Sacks was a neurologist, an author, and an amateur musician. And in these books, one can read his observations and his experiences with some of his patients. What I like about his books and his writing is that he saw every one of his patients as an individual and not as someone defined by their disease or their syndrome. In his book Musicophilia, he describes cases where people were affected by music in very intriguing ways, and then he explains the neural underpinnings of music in the human brain. And I think especially those stories are fascinating. Yes.
Yes. So we will put it in the show notes so that everyone can look into this book more. And I really want to do that as well, because this seems really interesting, and I haven't heard.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing your thoughts and your findings within this research. And I hope that everybody goes the right way for the ending of the publishing. And yeah, I don't, there's still publishing to go, no?
It will be submitted at the university now for my graduation. Yeah.
So good luck for that.
Thanks a lot.
But I think it will be good, because this feels like the right research to do. And I mean, if the results were so positive, then your results will be positive. Well, I believe in it.
Thank you very much, and for
Thank you.
inviting me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. So see you soon, and have a nice day. Thank you for listening to our podcast, Diving with Me by Fondation Aimé. This podcast was made possible by our dear partner, André Loche Fondation. Music was made by Taipan, mix and mastering by Taipan as well. Diving with Me releases 2 episodes a month. For more information on the Fondation Aimé, go to our website, fondation-aimé.lu. Thank you, and hear you soon.